Charles Hawtrey and the Deaf Aids. Phase 1, in which Doris gets her oats.
Two of us riding nowhere, spending someone's hard-earned pay. You and me Sunday driving, not arriving on our way back home. I do apologise you had to see that, but what's up, buddy? It's what, Jim? Let's do an album review for the Two of Us album by Evan and James. Evan and James are a YouTube channel that cover all sorts of songs, but mainly Beatles and solo Beatles songs. They recently released their first studio album called The Two of Us, which is an album dedicated to Beatles covers. How I knew about Evan and James is because of the YouTube commenter Carl Twiddle. He's commented several times on my channel and he suggested I watch their videos, and I've been a subscriber ever since I first watched their videos. So thanks to Carl for the suggestion. Let's start off with the album cover for The Two of Us. The album cover is very simple, but I think it's very effective. It says in the top right Evan and James, and then it says The Two of Us, and it says a Beatles cover album, volume 1, so it could be multiple volumes for this. From left to right you've got Christopher Evan and Andrew James, and they make up the duo Evan and James. There are 11 tracks in total for this album, and let's go through the track list right now. While I talk about each song, you'll be seeing a picture of the Beatles studio album that these songs originally came from. Some of these aren't studio albums, so I'll show you the single they came from instead. Also, 2 of these songs the Beatles didn't write, the Beatles covered. So the first track for the Two of Us album is Twist and Shout, which originally was from the Beatles' Please Please Me album, their debut. This, in my opinion, is a more chilled out version than the Beatles. It's got great acoustic guitar playing, which you'll find all over this The Two of Us album. It's also got great settled drumming, awesome clean vocals from Andrew James, really good backing vocals by Christopher Evan, and great harmonies by Evan and James in this song. The next track is Till There Was You, which is originally from the Beatles album, but this and Twist and Shout are actually 2 songs that the Beatles covered. It's nice to have a slower song on this album. It's a beautiful song the Beatles covered, and it's amazing to see it included on this album, as I think it's an underrated Beatles cover song. It's also excellently arranged, especially with the guitar solo, and it's one of the more relaxing and lovely sounding songs on this album. Next track is Yesterday, which is originally from the Beatles' Help album. This version, just like the original, is short and sweet. It's got a really good use of the keyboard instead of the orchestration which you find on the original, and I think this version's brilliantly executed, and it's one of the better covers on this album. And this is one of the Beatles songs that's been covered the most, and I'd say this is one of the better covers I've heard of the song Yesterday. Next track is Tell Me Why, which is originally from A Hard Day's Night, and it's a nice way to lighten things up after the previous song, and the harmonies are back with this track, which is amazing to see, and it's got some great high-pitched vocals as well. Then you've got Lady Madonna, which was a Beatles single that came out in 1968, and it has really good piano playing here. It's got electrifying electric guitar here as well. This version, along with the Beatles version, always puts a smile on my face. We're going to go back to Hard Day's Night with the next song, being And I Love Her. This version sounds slightly slower than the original, but I'm not complaining, as I think both of these versions are amazing. This contains my favourite guitar solo found on the album, and the claves are a nice subtle touch as well. All My Loving's next, so we're going back with the Beatles, and I would have put this song towards the beginning of the album in my opinion. I think it would have suited slightly better there, but it's got great electric guitar playing here and great harmonies. We've got another Beatles single, being I'll Get You. This song was released in 1963 originally, and it's nice to have a deeper cut from the Beatles library. This song was a B-side to She Loves You. I think the song is very overlooked and very catchy. It would have been nice to have had the harmonica in this song, which was what was in the original, but I still think this version of the song I'll Get You is fantastic. Next track was originally from the Beatles' White Album, and that is I Will. This version I find, just like the original, it's short, simple and sweet, and the bongos are a really good touch as well. The penultimate track from this album is another song from Hard Day's Night, which is the Beatles album that has the most tracks for this album. The song I'm talking about is Can't Buy Me Love. This is a more slightly chilled version, I'd say, and the bass and acoustic guitar playing sound fantastic together. The final track is also a Beatles single, which came out in 1965, and that is We Can Work It Out. It's got really nice drumming in this, It's got everything you want from this album. It's got amazing melodies, amazing instrumentation, amazing vocals and harmonies. If you fancy listening to the album, I've got a Spotify link to it in the description below. I've also got a link to Evan and James's website and their Facebook page as well as their YouTube channel. Please go ahead and subscribe to them. I'll now do a quick review for this album, and I think it's a real feel-good and relaxing album. The acoustic guitar playing was phenomenal in this, but it was also great to hear other instruments used other than the acoustic guitars, such as the keyboards and the drums. And I think these are very traditional Beatles covers done exceptionally. The vocals and the harmonies from Evan and James are brilliant here. I could just listen to their vocals all day. One of the gripes I got with this album is it doesn't include the song Two of Us, which is a Beatles song, and considering this album's called The Two of Us, I found it quite a shame this song wasn't on the album. But it did say on the album cover that this is the Beatles cover album volume 1, so maybe it could be in volume 2, and if it is, I think it should begin the album, or it should be the second track for the album. This is a very minor criticism, but there aren't many songs from the mid to late Beatles, so if you're more of a fan of those eras, you might not like this cover album as much, but I didn't mind because I love all the eras of the Beatles equally. If you're a Beatles fan, this is a must listen. I think this album is brilliant. I've heard it a couple of times already, and I look forward to listening to these songs, hopefully again in the future. It's one of the better cover albums I've heard, and hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. And Evan and James, if you guys are watching, you both did a fantastic job with this album, and keep going with your awesome YouTube channel. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and comment, and please go on all those links I've linked in the description below. And until next time everyone, peace and love, and ciao.